about their social achievement and development as well.
Wow.
And so we brought a group together, man, who at the beginning of this, we had two brothers like, yo, I don't like you. We about to fight.
Yeah, we've all been in those rooms. All been in those rooms.
Yeah, exactly. To by the end of the school year, these brothers were hugging each other and telling each other, I love you.
Wow,
so
that's powerful.
It was very powerful for an anecdotal researcher at that time. So I was just doing it because this is what my calling was at that time. But I remember after we watched Malcolm X, and we were having a dialogue.
That movie is really different to watch as an adult, by the way. If you haven't watched it, if you watched it as a kid, and go back and watch Malcolm X as an adult, I'm pretty sure you'll get different revelations about that movie.
I agree, and I remember in that dialoguing with them, I asked them. I said, "Who's going to be your Malcolm X?" The room got quiet, and one of the kids said, "You are, Mr. Corprew.
Wow.
You're going to be our Malcolm X."
Wow.
And I was humbled, man. I had to wipe back a tear, walk out the classroom, and come back. But it was in that moment that I realized that I needed to do something bigger for them.
Got it.
So came here to New Orleans pre-Katrina, got my PhD from Tulane, and have spent the last decade researching and understanding masculinity and understanding Black masculinity. So that's how I got to this work. And so now in this role of being a consultant, working with education, school systems, nonprofits, on how we can make sure that our communities have men who are thriving.
Wow.
That's the key.
Yeah.
We want men who are thriving and that are providing the resources that we need for our communities to be sustainable and
whole.
wonderful.
And whole.
That's
Yeah.
the word.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we're getting to that, right? Because a lot of people, Ethan, why you bring on Dr. Corprew to talk about, with his sexy voice, to talk about, what was it, smooth jazz? No, this is not. Look, the man is talking about with which I've been speaking about loving out loud a little bit more, LOLing a little bit more, but particularly around and with Black men. Right, and not being afraid and ashamed to tell a brother, I love you, I miss you, it's good to see you. And we got to do that a little bit more. Why? Because it goes to the bigger fundamental issue of having healthy, thriving, whole communities. And this is why I have Doc on, because we need to talk about these issues, because it goes to the underpinning of our communities and our families and whether or not it is healthy or not. Because if you don't deal with your masculinity in a healthy way, you might not have a healthy community in which you're living in, and we got to deal with that. So, Doc, if you were telling me some of the research, what is it? What do we see when it comes to some of the research out there around healthy communities and masculinity, and how does that all play together?
Well, when we think about this, we want to think about this is how do we define healthy masculinity?
Yeah.
We know that
That's a great question.
Hyper-masculinity is having extreme anti-feminine attitudes, callous sexual attitudes towards women, being devoid of emotion and seeing that dominance and aggression are seen as manly.
Yeah.
But we need to really understand what healthy masculinity looks like for African American men, and we don't really talk about that. We talk about masculinity in its other form. But we have conversations. I saw Royce Duplessis.
That's my guy.
Yeah, I saw Royce Duplessis.
That's my guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. At Starbucks the other day. And I think when I see Royce Duplessis, I see the epitome to me. And I don't know Royce, the background, Royce's background. I know the interactions that we have when we see each other.
Yeah.
And when I see that brother, I see, to me, the picturesque example of healthy masculinity.
Wow.
Humble in nature, doing his work, on his grind, but then accepting. When he sees a brother, it's not about him. It is about the camaraderie that you have. I think about the relationships that you, Flint, Greg, and myself have.
Yeah.
The interesting things that we have been able to, as Kellogg Fellows, been able to talk about very vulnerable topics.
Agreed.
Very vulnerable topics that Black men actually don't talk about.
Yeah.
And those are the things that allow our communities to be whole, because when you think about the mental health aspects, that when Black men or men just in general have places, safe spaces to go and talk about their issues,
yeah,
we see less domestic violence. We see less violence in the communities. We see less harm towards each other. You think about that 90% of African American males who are killed by another African American male. 22% of the homicides for women, for Black women, are due to intimate partner or domestic violence. It's because we are failing in some instances to talk about what's going on with us.